Today's interview is brought to you by the guys over at Psychotoxin Press. No matter what you're into, they have a story for you. Everything from shorts to novellas to full length novels written by indie horror authors. Please check them out and go ahead and use the promo code HorrorRem10 to get you 10% off of your first order. Check them out, www.psychotoxinpress, or click down on the link in the description below. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Rim. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror author spotlight. Today I have with us, she just released her debut novel, and it's called The Estate Sale. I have Mia Dahlia with us today. Mia, how are you doing today? Welcome to Horror Rim.
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. So tell everybody a little bit about Estate Sale.
Estate Sale is a novel that on the surface looks like a haunted house novel because of the house on the cover that everybody says looks like the house from Psycho. But it's actually a novel about a perfectly normal house full of haunted objects. It follows a couple that had spent most of 20th century together, and they traveled and they collected all these artifacts because the husband was interested in the occult and he was also a horror novelist. And after the couple settled in upstate New York and they spent the last of their time together there, then they're gone. The house is full of objects. They have there's an estate sale that takes place. The locals descend, pick through their treasures, take them home, and they don't know what they're bringing home, and it wreaks havoc on their lives. So there are short stories throughout the novel that follow each object to see what happens.
That's amazing. Now, how long did it take you from beginning and to complete the novel?
It didn't take me that long, but from what I gather, I write like fast. That one took a little longer because that was the only novel I wrote before I had my own computer. So I was sharing it with my wife, and I had to get up at like 5 a.m. to get a few hours in. I'll stay up really late. I would say probably a few months. So I would write in these weird sessions in the morning and evening, and during the day I would do research because there had to be so much historical research into this novel. It was just masochistic levels of research.
So, and then this was your first novel. Now, you were in a lot of small stories before and after.
Yeah.
Now, was it tough to go ahead and put together that first novel?
Well, I think I cheated because so many short stories went into this novel. So it has like one overarching narrative, and then it's interspersed with all the short stories. So that was a bit of cheating on my part.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it felt organic. I put so much. It's a kitchen sink of everything I love that went into this novel. So it was a labor of love. It wasn't tough. It was just all-consuming.
So you had all these little short stories. Now, did you already have an ending in mind, or is that something that you work your way towards?
With that one, I actually had more or less of an outline in mind because it was simply too complex to juggle in my head. Usually I do fly by the seat of my pants, proverbially, but with that one, I kind of knew what it was going toward. And I'm very pleased with the ending. And yeah, I think that came out nicely. I'm glad.
Perfect. And so what got you into horror writing? I love horror authors, and I'm always interested, like, what got you started?
That's a good question because I don't actually consider myself just a horror writer. It's funny because I published so much horror up to now that that's all people think of me. But I have also published noir short stories, science fiction, one of the weird stories that just doesn't have a genre came out this year. Next year, I'm releasing a science fiction debut from Spaceboy Books. But
Nice.
people still talk as a horror writer, and I love it because horror has been my lifelong love. And but I read so much of it. I read so much horror, and I read a lot in general, and I just wanted to see if I could do better. It sounds terribly arrogant, but I just wanted to write books I haven't read yet. I'm very selfish. I write for me. It's one of the reasons I mostly never know my endings, because I want to be surprised, and I just wanted to see if I could write something different. And horror is just about the best genre there is because it encapsulates all other genres, and you can explore anything you want within the horror realm. I see what I did there. So it's just fun. It's just fun.
Now, is it a little harder because you've written different genres? Is it harder writing horror? Is it harder writing in horror because you do have to have that scare aspect. You do have to have that character development to overall, I mean, get that unnerved feeling out of readers.
It comes easy to me, but I'm a naturally morbid person.
Okay,
And that's just how my mind works. It's
I like the
actually
answer.
it's actually harder for me to write lighter things.
Really?
That's why they're so rare. I've just completed a novel recently that I haven't done anything with yet. That's pure comedy. Because my wife literally just told me, like, just write something light. Just write something light for a change. So I did it, and it's a lot of effort to just stay in that mind. In person, I'm not that dark. I joke around, but when I sit down to write, oh my God.
Your brain just goes into that dark realm.
I know. So yeah, no, horror is easy. Horror is fun. I said fun already, but yeah, horror is pretty easy to write, I think. And my horror is not very visceral. I read a lot of horror and it's just gore and guts and in-your-face violence. I don't do that. I've had people refer to my horror as gentle, which at first I was like, but now I love it. I own it. I like the fact that a mature 16-year-old could probably read Estate Sale and enjoy it. And I've had people as old as my friend's 71-year-old mother who read it and loved it. And it just kind of involves different people. I have a friend who is like this really tough guy. He's a cop. He was in the army. And he wrote me to tell me that my novel made him cry.
Really?
And, like, that's fantastic.
That is.
Thank you.
Because, I mean, to be a horror writer, it's kind of tough not to get stuck into that scenario where you only are writing for horror audiences, and to be able to capture people who are not horror fans into your work. I mean, that's an amazing thing to do.
Thank you. To this day, Estate Sale has made 4 people cry that I know about because they told me, and I'm just going to continue counting. So if anybody else ever is brought to tears by my work, please let me know.
No, okay. Please comment. Yes.
This also likes that sort of thing. Sorry.
So when it comes to writing, I'm pretty sure, like many authors, your brain is constantly popping with ideas all the time. Do you have any rules when it comes to, let's say, vacationing or taking a break where you turn your brain off from ideas, or do you just let those ideas constantly go and you're just writing all the time?
I let them come because otherwise if I shut the doors, they just keep knocking. But I don't write anything down. I have pretty good memory, so if an idea comes and it sticks around, I know it's good enough, and I pick it up the next time at the computer and I start writing it. but it is hard to turn off my mind, I find. My wife gave me my own computer for my birthday, and that has just been disastrous because now I just don't stop until she pries it away from me. So it's definitely hard, but I think it's also helped me because, like I said, I write fast and I have gotten a lot of things out there in a relatively short time. I've only been writing since 2021, since the summer of
Wow.
2021. So I feel like I'm playing catch up.
Yes. Now, all right, next question I do have for you is, when it comes to writing, is there a story that you've written down and you, for whatever reason, you shelved it? It's sitting on a shelf right now. If there's a story, what's that story about, and why has it been shelved?
Oh yeah, I have that. I have like a novelette-length story about a vampire, and I don't normally write trope, so I try to stay away from anything conventional. And I think that story kind of showed it. It was one of the earlier stories, and it just didn't quite work. I had few betas take a look at it. They said that some things worked, the dialogue worked, but the main thing was it was predictable. It had a twist, and the twist was predictable, and I cannot abide that. That to me just kills it. So, because I love twisted endings, so I shelved it until I can figure out vampires better. Maybe meet one and interview them. I don't know, but until then, that's on the shelf.
So is your wife the individual who, like, when you write something down, who is she the first person who takes a look at your work before you try to publish it or get it out there?
Oh yeah, nothing even goes near a beta until she reads it and approves it. It's actually really tough because some days she's like, the last couple of months she's been super busy, and I finished my comedy novel for her, and she didn't have time to read it, and I was just sitting there like. And then she finally started reading it, and she's just sitting next to me and laughing her head off. And I was like, yes. So now I can do something with it. I can send it to betas. I can maybe try to edit it. But yeah, without her say so, it's just, I mean, I partly got into it to impress her. So,
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to have your partner as your go-to person to be your critic in a little bit, to give you that honest feedback. I mean, their opinion should matter more than anyone's. I mean, it's amazing to be able to have that.
It's very rewarding. I'm very fortunate, and she didn't really read horror before me, so not only that, but I'm very proud to have gotten her into horror because now she's read most of Sylvia Moreno Garcia, who is just about one of my favorite contemporary horror writers. She's reading King. She's just like all the authors that, at a level that I want to get to. I'm like, here, read this so you can have something to compare my work to. I want to be compared to quality, so then you could tell me how I stack up and how far I need to climb up.
That's amazing. That's an amazing way to set the bar. It is. Now, is there? Now, so this is a horror movie channel, horror movies, horror books.
Yeah.
So, estate sale. If a movie company came to you right now and said, we're going to make this into a live action movie, and you get to pick a iconic director to direct the movie version, who would it be?
Oh, that is so tough. I honestly don't even know. I mean, there's a lot of like historic novel aspects to it. Mm-hmm. So I would think somebody like bombastic, like Ridley Scott. But on the other hand, I don't know how he would handle horror. And then I would go and say somebody maybe really dark, like David Fincher, but I just watched The Killer by David Fincher, and it was atrocious. So hugely disappointing. But I don't know. I mean, honestly, it is a dream come true for me. I love movies with passion. Between movies and books, I probably couldn't choose. So it's one of my biggest dreams in the world to have my work adapted for screen. And I would be probably just grateful for anyone
yeah.
to do it. But I mean, I don't know. I have so many directors I love, but I don't know how they would do. Like, I mean, I love Tim Burton, but I don't want it to be campy.
Oh yeah.
Love. Ask me another question.
Okay, so you're working on 2 novelettes and 3 novellas with Chris over at Psychotoxin Press.
The novelettes I self-released because
Oh,
I wanted to promote a state sale. But 2 novellas, yeah, with Chris.
with Chris. Now, how tough is it right now to self-publish and to get your work out there?
To self-publish is obscenely easy. It is so easy, I feel like it's flooding the market. And I do feel lamentably like it may be affecting the quality of work out there. Because periodically I sample some of the self-published works out there just to see what's around. And in all of this year, I have found one novella that I've read recently that was really good, which is not great odds. But to just get your work out there is so easy. You have to edit it, which is the toughest part. Formatting you can learn because I'm a bit of a Luddite, and I learned formatting pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And you can even learn covers, and you can do it for free. It's amazing. There are these programs you can use for free. I'm doing covers.
So do you think that there's no gatekeepers anymore or no filters that, that it's watered down a little? You say it was a little bit watered down. So you think the issue is that there's no gatekeepers on who is approving work or novels that are coming out now?
To an extent, I would say yes. I think a lot of it is just down to authors. And us authors, we are super biased. I mean, yeah. I think my work is great. I'm sure other authors out there think their work is great. And sometimes it is, and oftentimes it isn't. And there is nobody to tell. And now that I have had such a busy year of working with various publishers, and I've just sold my 2nd novel to a bigger size press, and I can see the difference, and it's amazing. I don't even know how else to say it. It's a striking difference in quality control, in everything. So, yeah, I mean, it's hugely tempting to just write a novel or a story and be like, boom, here you go. But I don't know if all the things that are easy are good.
Yeah, and I mean that's something I definitely said about indie filmmaking, especially in horror. Anybody can make a movie now. If you have a smartphone, an iPhone, then you can make a movie, and you can probably get it up on a streaming service. But is that a good thing, or I mean, is that a bad thing? Because now you're flooding the horror movie, industry or streaming services with stuff that may have not made it on those services, 10, 15, 20 years ago. And
Right.
because there was quality control.
It's very much the same thing. Yeah. I mean, I watch a lot less indie horror now for that reason. I try to limit my TV time, so when I do have TV time, I want to watch something that I know has been, released by a bigger studio and has actors or directors I like, or something like that, or something I heard about and read good reviews. So definitely, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's the same thing I ran into when it comes to even like smaller name self-publishing authors. There's no quality control. I found some great novels. including yours, that are self-published that most people don't know of, which is why I kind of create this channel to shine a spotlight. But at the same time, once again, there's no quality control. So I mean, I've seen some stuff on Amazon that's like, oh, let me give this a try, and I have the Kindle Unlimited, so I can read. But like the editing's off, the grammar's off, there's a run on sentence, and I'm like, I don't know what this is, when I'm reading, and I'm like,
Right.
wow, this goes through with Amazon. This goes through with self-publishing because there's no gatekeeper to say, hey, this needs to be put together in a grammatical way or something. I don't know. But yeah, but there is no gatekeeper or filter to say this can go through and this can't.
I just have to say that Estate Sale is only technically self-published. It is actually in its second edition. Estate Sale originally came out from Black Ink Fiction. It had been professionally edited, formatted, covered, and published.
And it shows it.
Well, thank you.
Yes.
I'm actually now planning a new edit because I feel like as I mature as an author, I was doing a lot of readings and I was seeing things. And I'm like, I'm going to re-edit this. And I'm going to. Now I have the power. But yeah, it came out in April from Black Ink Fiction. And it just didn't quite work out with the publisher. We just had slightly different expectations. Mm-hmm. So it only lasted 3 months, but the publisher was kind enough to give me back the edited files and everything. So I just re-released it on my own. So it is technically now a self-published novel, but I don't view it as such. It had a rough start, and I'm hoping to get more attention to it, and I'm hoping to eventually find a proper home for it. But it wasn't just something I typed up and threw on Amazon.
Yeah. And unfortunately, listen, I self-publishing is amazing. It gives a lot of people get an opportunity to work out. But at the same time, I feel like that's not always a good thing, It's not always a good thing that anybody can just put the work out there and no one filters it, no one says, hey, this is, I don't know, this needs to be edited or something.
I mean, the main thing is like people obviously have a choice. They could pick up a book and they could set it down, especially like you said with Kindle Unlimited,
Mm-hmm.
There's a side except for your time. But I think this is probably the only really harmful thing in that is that it does dilute quality a bit, because if that's what people read, that's kind of what people begin to expect. And I've seen it. I've seen some of self-published books that have gotten really big.
Yes.
And I've read them, and they're not that well written and badly edited, like noticeably mm-hmm. badly edited. And I'm like, and if this has hundreds of positive reviews, that means hundreds of people out there think that's the norm.
Yeah, and that's scary.
It's not great. It's not great as an author because you don't know where the bar is, and then it ends up being like what you're offering is going to be what, to up market. You just have to know where you come in.
Exactly. Like, because I mean, yeah, there has to be a bar on, there just has to be a bar on quality, and to gauge what's, like you were saying, was when it comes to when your wife, you had to read Stephen King and great authors to say, hey, this is where I'm trying to meet this bar or be at this bar, Yeah. And you have to have somewhere to gauge it. If you're not, then.
And I do quality, that too.
Yeah, quality in general is going to suffer, when it comes to projects.
And I feel like it's very important to keep sight of it. I mean, I do that to myself. Like, I want to be a mainstream author. I want to publish with certain presses. So I read what those presses put out. I read the top-rated books. I read the books that win awards. I read the books the quality of which I aspire to, as opposed to just before I started writing, when I had all that free time and I just read whatever. Now I'm like, I have very limited time to read now. I used to, I still do, but I was kind of big into book reviewing. I had a blog and hundreds of followers on Goodreads. And I think at my height, I was reading about 50 books a month.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm prolific, like all over. And, back then, there was a lot of duds. It was just up and down. Now I'm trying to just get to the quality like this and rising. So I'm trying to be very selective with my books. I actually do research. I'm like, this better be worth the time. So yeah, it's tricky, but I think it's important. I think quality is important. I mean, it's also with big presses too. We see it. I was just reading an article about 15 most successful, wealthiest authors out there. And, James Patterson is number one. The quality problems are real.
Yeah.
That's what people think is good writing. I mean, King is number 3. But that list was like depressing. It was all YA that was adapted for film. E.L. James and Twilight, which is both YA level and softly pornographic. I don't know. And just, I'm like, oh my God, I would hardly read anybody on this list, but these people have millions of dollars.
Millions of dollars. Yeah, because it's the art of writing has kind of suffered over the years. I mean, but the art of filmmaking has suffered over the years, and it's what the norm was not the norm. The norm has definitely dropped on quality, and I don't know if that's because as audience, our expectations are lower, or what. I don't know where that came from.
I don't know. I used to blame reality TV, but I know it's not that simple. I feel like something came along, and I think it might be just the glut of choices, because also with streaming, there is so much. Like, you turn on any channel, any streaming channel, and there's so much. And you have to do research to see what may be worth your time. And sometimes you don't want to do research. You just want to just click a button and watch. And then some of it, yeah. It's, like I said, I watched a David Fincher movie, who is a brilliant director, never made a bad movie. And have you seen Killer? It's just come out.
I have not. It's on my watch list.
I don't do spoilers. I hate spoilers, so I'm not going to say anything more except for the fact that I was hugely disappointed. I'm trying to forget it happened. Like, that was my Friday night movie. I was so excited for it.
But it's crazy. It's crazy now when people tell me, I get a lot of people who tell me, watch this movie, because this is what I do. I read books and movies because I've kind of made this YouTube thing into a part-time career. And so I've done more reading this year than I probably have in my whole entire life, and I'm watching more movies this year than my whole entire life, because I'm interviewing a lot of filmmakers and authors. So I have to, at least have to have an idea on what I'm talking about with them and who they are as an artist before I interview them. So, but a lot of people tell me, oh my goodness, read this book and read it, or watch this movie or something like that. And for the most part this year, I've been absolutely surprised on how many awful things people have told me to watch that they say is amazing or good. And I'm like, whoa, I remember, like, there was a time where people would say, oh my goodness, you got to read this amazing book and you watch this movie, and then I will go watch it or read it. And I'm like, wow, I will call that person and be like, thank you for telling me this was an experience that I had to, you were 100% correct. I don't make that call then as much anymore.
Now you
I
just look at
really
me like,
don't.
what the hell's wrong with you? Why would you
I,
recommend that?
I really don't make those calls or text messages or anything like, wow, thank you for telling me that changed my life or something. Like it was like, okay, I just wasted two hours of my life. Like, what was that? But
It's definitely happening more and more. There's so few things I would recommend now. I My blog, which my review blog, which I keep anonymous, and I'm so grateful I keep it anonymous because now that I'm establishing a name for myself, I'm like, good. I could speak the truth. I used to review movies more and more because I was excited about movies more and more. And now it's just mostly books. There are so few things that I can think of that I've watched that I could not just peer my eyes away from the screen. Most of the time I just fall asleep.
but I started my YouTube channel, so I'm less than a year in. My YouTube channel started off as an indie horror movie review channel, and I kind of had to switch it up because it was literally I caught myself just bashing movies all day, like, and I was like, let me stop doing this. Like, this is, and it's one of the directors, filmmakers, reached out to me actually and commented on and said, "Can I come on for an interview?" And then I just started doing interviews. So I do less bashing now because I know a lot of these indie filmmakers and I know and authors and I know the hard work that is put into it, especially for the first time. But at the same time, there's no gatekeeping or filtering anymore. There's no. I've noticed it as a reader and I'm the audience. Anybody who makes a horror movie or horror novel, I'm your audience. I'm the one who's reading and watching. I'm telling you that the quality has definitely decreased over the last 5 years when it comes to the horror genre. Period.
I agree. I think it's one of the reasons I started writing. I'm not humble at all, by the way, or modest, so I say things like that, but I wanted to write quality so much. What I love to read in horror is literary horror.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be a beautiful novel that will unsettle my mind and profoundly disturb me. To me, that's what's interesting. I like psychology of it all. I don't want cheap jump scares. I don't want somebody getting graphically gored. I'm not interested in that. I've been reading horror for decades, and I have gone through a phase when I was reading that sort of thing, for a while. And then I just outgrew it. And now whenever I come across it, like if I come across a story like that in an anthology or something, not something I seek out, but if it just happens, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm past it. And it's such a joy to find like a novel that what I'm looking for is just like literary horror you can like really get lost in.
You can escape reality and you can movie or book, like you can kind of jump into the book or the movie and like escape reality for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're probably going into a more disturbing reality at that point.
Yes.
But it's still fun. It's just
the fun.
And it's so enjoyable and immersive. And I feel like with those guts and gore things, you just really don't get that. You will get grossed out. Yeah, you will
I'm 41. I agree with you. I'm 41 now. My palette for horror has changed over the years. And it's less, for me, it's less gore and guts. It's more of I like to mentally, excuse my language, I like to mentally get fucked up, like what reading a book, like psychologically, compared to the visual.
Exactly. And that's literally all I've set out to do. I just want to disturb people. If they want to call it gentle, call it gentle. I don't think the overall effect is, but my method is. I don't really use, it's not really R-rated by content, if you know. I mean, there's no overt violence or overt sex or even overt language so much, unless it's necessary. I've also had somebody call my horror polite, which I really liked, because I think manners are a dying art. And if my books can have manners, I'm thrilled. And Yeah, I mean, I think you can place a good graphic scene within a literary horror and have it be effective, but it
Mm-hmm.
can't be the thing you hang your novel on.
Yeah.
You know? It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. I've read something recently like that, fairly popular. Everybody was saying it's popular, it's good on Facebook. And I read it and I'm like, I think this is YA. It's definitely written for an underdeveloped mind. I mean, yeah, it has guts and gore and sex. Is that why people don't think it's YA? But it's just not that good. I mean, like, you love horror movies, right? What's your favorite horror movie?
Halloween 1978, the original.
Okay, see, that's what I'm talking about. That movie will disturb you, but it
It has no
doesn't
gore.
have scenes.
It has no gore.
Like what's going on there, it's deeper than surface.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. Um, my favorite movie is Candyman, the original.
Scared the crap out of me as a kid. That's the first movie that really scared the crap out of me as a kid.
Exactly. And that movie has some viscerally disturbing scenes, but the scares in it are psychological.
Mm-hmm.
Like what he goes through, what happens, her journey in discovering his story. It's horrifying.
I was telling
So
somebody in an interview, I said the part that scared the crap out of me in that movie wasn't any of the gore or anything. It was the story, the backstory of what he did to a little boy in the bathroom. And being a little boy, I was like, when I went to the bathroom, I was like, oh my goodness, I hope Candyman doesn't do that to me in the bathroom.
that's precisely what horror should do. I just had a short story come out in an anthology, Nightmare Never Ends. And when I first wrote that story, I gave it to my favorite beta to read. And she said that that story scared her from using the toilet at night. And I was
That's
like,
what
all
Candyman
right,
did to me.
I'm going to start submitting it.
It scared me from using the bathroom as a little boy. I was like, because and they never even showed the scene in the movie. They were just telling a story about what happened. So you never even got to see the actual visual of what he did to the little boy. It was the story behind it. And I was like, it just originated with me as a little boy. I was like, oh my goodness, that is a horrific thing that happened in the bathroom. And I was scared for days from going into the bathroom at night.
Yeah, see, classics.
Yep.
Classics. And I have a personal connection to Halloween now because I live on the outskirts of Haddonfield.
Really? Nice.
Um, and the town goes crazy for Halloween.
I bet.
It's the home of Mike Myers, which is very funny because as a horror writer, it's actually tough to make any headway there. But then you go through town on Halloween, and I'm like, but you love horror, don't you? I mean, look at you. I should be huge here. But yeah.
Yeah, listen, I'm a gore hound. I do like some gory movies, but like, I don't know. It just seems like the older I've gotten, it's just like, I'm like, I can do without a whole. I like a little bit of gore, but I can do without over the top gore, and I prefer more of a story and something that psychologically messes me up than visually messes me up.
True. I think one of the finest examples of that in like recent cinema has been Saw.
Mm-hmm.
Saw 1
Yes.
is scarring. And then progressively rely more on gore and they get progressively less effective.
Correct.
They're still creative in a way, and I think they might be making a new one, but none of them has that.
It's great.
Yeah?
The new one is amazing, which I was ready to bash that movie before it came out. It is amazing. It might be as good as the original.
What?
But they went back to the original recipe. And that's what you got to do,
Yeah, it's minimal. It's perfect. It's near perfect. And it has that great iconic ending.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're going to be that guy, because when I watch the new Saw, if I don't like it, I'd be like, I can't believe
Oh, no, you're going to like the new Saw, because I'm telling you, I walked in. There's been 2 movies this year. I was like, oh man, this is gonna be awful, and I was like completely shocked. And Saw X was definitely one of them. I was completely shocked. But but the best two horror movies I've seen in the last 2 years, maybe in a while, is X and Pearl. Those movies are they're part of the X series. Those movies are
Excellent.
excellent. They're excellent. I mean, just once again, not over the top gore, but enough gore, great story, and it just builds, you know, and it's beautiful, beautiful cinematography.
I'm gonna go with X over Pearl. I thought X was better,
Yes,
but
great,
her performance was fantastic.
fantastic.
I was so impressed. I think it's one of the few things they have started doing better lately is that they cast real actors
Hmm.
in horror movies, and I think it's kind of really grounds it. Even if they have like one real actor, it's like
Yeah,
I think it just makes a difference. I mean, she was phenomenal.
Oscar award winning. I mean, in both movies. I mean, did an amazing job. You know what? You agree? This is something I've said too in some interviews. Acting as a watcher, acting is so important. Character development in horror is so important, and I think most people don't think that, or like you can just put in Sally off the street and put her into a horror movie. But bad acting kills it for me in a horror movie. It completely distracts me. It knocks me out of it. I'm just not interested. I need to care about the victims. I have to care about the victims. Like if I don't care about the victims, then how is it I mean, how is it a horror movie? If it's just obstacles put into the killer's way with no character development, that's fun for a little bit, but an hour or 2 hours into it, it becomes I'm cutting the movie off because I'm not invested in any of these characters.
No, I absolutely agree. I think if you put better actors, it gets the movie more depth and it gets the movie more attention. I mean, like, awards still don't really recognize horror so much.
At
Like
all.
the only horror movie, arguably cross-genre horror movie that won an Oscar is Silence of the Lambs
Mm-hmm.
to this day, and that movie is 30 years old, something like that.
Early 90s.
I think it's 91, so it's
Yeah.
like almost 30. And that's significant because I have seen horror late. Us. Have you seen Jordan Peele's Us?
So I wasn't a huge fan of Us, but I loved Get Out. And Get Out, I think, was nominated, wasn't it, for Best Picture?
Everybody says that. I'm actually an Us person. I thought Get Out was too much, and I thought Us was. Everybody did. I'm in a minority. But I thought Lupita Nyong'o, I could be mangling her name. I hate mispronouncing names. But the main actress in Us,
Lupita.
Yeah, Lupita. I got that, but the last.
Yeah.
I hate to be that person, but her performance was phenomenal. She was so good.
She was definitely the best part of that movie. She was.
Like, I mean, the movie had problems as it went on, but so long as she was on screen, I just didn't care. She was magnetic.
Mm-hmm.
That performance, that voice, oh my God. And, I don't think she got nominated for anything.
Nothing.
No. I know the movie could have been better, but come on.
She was the bright spot in that movie. I do agree. She was the bright spot in that movie. She did an excellent job in that movie. But yeah, I mean, horror doesn't. There's been a lot of. I mean, like we were talking about Mia Goth and Pearl. I mean, she did an amazing job in that movie acting. Even if you didn't like Pearl, you cannot say that that was what last year was that not one of the best actress roles in any movie. Period.
I know, and it doesn't get enough attention.
No, I interview a lot of people and they've never seen Pearl or X or the X series, and they're horror fans. I'm like, wow, how come this little series doesn't get any attention in the horror community?
I think it's gonna have like a cult favorite status because honestly, I didn't know about it until my friend told me, and he loved it like passionately. Like he got a poster of it, and I couldn't even find it on streaming services. I
No,
like
you
also
can't.
went to the library and reserved it and brought home a DVD, which I never do anymore, and dug up a DVD player and like watched the movie. And then I did the same thing with Pearl because I just had to.
Because the first one, I had to go through to Redbox and rent it because, like you said, it wasn't on any streaming service at all. Like you couldn't rent or buy it or anything on TV. And then Pearl, I actually went to the theaters and saw Pearl because I loved the first one so much.
Oh, that must be a weird thing to see on the big screen. It's such
It,
a raw, intimate movie. You
it is.
almost want to be like alone with it in your room, like
It,
emotionally, you know.
it was definitely intense. But I enjoyed watching it on. I feel like there's a lot of indie horror movies because I consider those indie horror movies that need to be on the big screen. I think it gives you a little bit more. I think everything is better on a big screen, any kind of movies. And like, unfortunately, cinema is dying. You know, the actual movie theaters are actually dying, and it's because of streaming services. Streaming services are definitely putting the big theaters out of the business, just like they put the video stores and DVDs out of business. Um, and most people just don't you don't have to go to the movie theater anymore because a movie is in the movie theaters and then it's on a streaming service a month later. So you don't have to. Back in the day, if a movie was released in a movie theater, it was going to be a whole nother year before you could even get it on VHS or even see it on pay-per-view or anything. It was going to be a whole nother year. So like there was a more emphasis on seeing it in the movie theater. But now it's going to be in the movie theater and on a streaming service in a month tops. And so you don't have to wait as long to see something.
True. But I mean, in a way, the same thing is happening with books because
Yes.
Back in the day, a book came out and it was a beautiful hardcover, and there it remained, and you had to go to the store or the library and get it.
You had to pre-order it and all that stuff.
Yeah, and now, you just click a button, and I am guilty of all that too.
Me too.
Click those buttons. I'm aware of it, but it is, it suits me better because I am a bit of a recluse and it's convenient.
Mm-hmm.
But then I feel a little guilty, and I think about that time when you just, like, the story of Psycho, right? It's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Yes.
And Hitchcock bought out all those copies so people did not know the ending so that his movie would surprise them and scare them. And I just keep thinking that would never happen now. No, there's no mystery. You could not keep a secret.
No.
He just, like, I don't know, he spent so much money. He spent like insane amount of money. It was a huge investment for him, even for him with his status, to just buy all those copies.
Mm-hmm.
I just keep thinking, what modern horror author could that happen to? I mean, imagine a modern horror author to whom a director comes now, a director of Hitchcock status, and says, yeah, I'm going to pretty much buy out the first print of your hardcovers. All of them.
All of them.
And make a movie.
Yes.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's an experience nobody can have again. It's like dodos.
Really
you can't see Dodo again.
Yep. I have one, the closest bookstore to me is a Barnes & Noble. It's a good 25 minutes away. But like, I am so guilty. I go there. I mean, it's 25 minutes away. It's not that far. But I am so guilty because like you say, if I want a book, I just go to Amazon and click and just order it. I don't support the bookstore anymore. I don't think anybody supports the bookstore.
I think, yeah. I mean, there are few people, but it's hard. And the used bookstores are going out of business. When we moved here 2 summers ago, I didn't realize. And then this year, when I started looking for places to promote estate sale, I started Googling, and there were only like a handful of used bookstores around. And I think just over half went out of business during the last few years
From
because
the
of
COVID,
everything
yeah.
and didn't come back. And so we have like one amazing bookstore in the area, and I did my first signing in there, and it was fantastic. And I'm like, I hope this place stays in business. But then I went home and read my books on Kindle. So
Yeah, I know.
I don't.
It's the waste. I mean, it's the waste of time. I mean, it's a waste of time. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a bookstore. I think modern bookstores are, and I love going to. I'm telling you, I love going into Books a Million, or I travel a lot to go to hard conventions, and I see a little used bookstore or a bookstore. I love going in them. I go in them. I walk around them. But I don't see anybody buying books in them. Like when I go inside of Barnes and Noble or something like that, all I see is a bunch of kids playing on the computer and drinking coffee. That's what they're there for, and to use some free internet or enough quiet space. And like, it's just like, it's sad. I mean, I just did an interview with Christopher, and we were talking about magazines. I'm like, no one buys magazines anymore. Like, you go into a Barnes and Noble, and that whole magazine stand area is a ghost town.
Oh, it's yeah. I mean, I don't buy I don't really. I
No,
read
like,
I read New York Times daily, but I do it online.
yeah. I mean, I read an article because I just did a recent video about magazines, and like they were saying that the magazine business is going to be done within 2025. Like, they're losing billions of dollars ever since, I think it was 2015. They've been losing billions of dollars every year, and what they're doing is they're raising the prices of magazines up, and they're giving you less material in the magazines. No one's buying them because you can go online and find out all this stuff for free.
True. I mean, okay, objectively, some of the magazines are really just. I get this weird magazine in the mail every month, even though I never subscribe to it. I don't know why. It's nothing I would ever subscribe to if I wanted to subscribe to a magazine. It's something with fashion. And I think it's like 90% ads. I don't
It's
even think
90% advertisements. That's any magazine now.
and I mean, I don't know who would want that outside of maybe collaging. There is no substance. It's huge, it's glossy. It's obviously expensive to produce all that paper, but I mean, somewhere there are trees just weeping for having been wasted on this.
Because the reason why there's so many ads and 90% ads is because that's the only way they can make money now, because people don't buy
Yeah.
magazines.
But then
So,
on the other hand, who would pay for it if it's just ads? And mostly, it's for products you cannot buy,
yeah.
like thousands of dollars worth of sneakers and watches, and I don't know what. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely, like a working author cannot buy the things that keep the magazines going. Was it?
So, Mia, where can everyone find you?
Oh, everywhere. I got on social media this year for the first time. I was dragged into it, kicking and screaming, but now I'm everywhere. I have my own website, which is hard to spell out, but basically everything I do is branded under Dahliaverse. So in some form or another, you can find Dahliaverse on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, my website, and I have an Amazon author page. I have a Goodreads author page. And I always tell people, please reach out. I really want to be the author who talks to the readers.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a reader for so long, and I love reaching out to authors, and I want to be that author. Like, please reach out, tell me what you thought. Hopefully it's nice. If not, yell at me that I wasted your time. But I love connecting. So yeah, great.
Amazing. Mia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on. Everybody, listen, go on to Amazon and grab your copy of Estate Sale. Listen, get the paper copy, get the electronic copy, but get the paper copy. Listen, I need to get a paper copy of it because there's something nice about having a paper book. It's a paper copy, so I definitely have to grab it. Also, go into Psychotoxin Press. She does have 2 novellas up as well. Definitely check them out. Check out my guys over and gals over at Psychotoxin Press. Mia, listen, you're more than welcome on my show anytime. This was absolute fun.
Yes, I had lots of fun. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And I told you I'm one of the best interviewers around.
And you were right. You were right. I was like, oh my God, I hope he's right. And you were right. Awesome. No false advertisement there.
Not at all. Not at all.
Time, and we'll chat. I have a lot more releases coming up in the new year, so hopefully we can do this again.
You're more than welcome. We talk about horror and bookstores and all kinds of good stuff.
Awesome. I will have seen the new Saw by then. So
yes, definitely check that one out. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.